Okay guys, here's a new trap I think I've come up with. It uses only 2 pieces of rope. It does use a peg that's in the ground to attach to, though that wouldn't be necessary. That could be tied to, tree roots, another sapling tree, base of a tree, heavy rock, whatever holds the tension. So down here we have a snuggle hitch. Up here we have a lap knot quick release connected to an Alpine Butterfly knot, and then your standard snare. And then up at the tree, we've got another snuggle hitch. The reason I use those is they handle pull in any direction and are real good and real tight and real safe. Obviously you'll notice I'm not using a bent over tree branch because I don't have any, so I'm actually just using an entire tree limb. So obviously that's wrong, and let's not forget about placement and all that kind of stuff. But the theory behind it is you've got an extra line connected to the Alpine loop that can act as your snare loop. This line right here connects to the quick release. Good thing about this is it can be set at any height. This main line can be set at any angle. Your snare loop can be however large you want. And again, this doesn't need to be attached to anything. Well, it needs to be anchored somehow. So anyway, the theory is that a little critter comes up here, pulls on that. Yeah, there you go. Snagged me. So seemed like that wouldn't be too bad. There are a couple of good things about it. You can adjust the tension. Well, that holds well. You can adjust the tension of the quick release by how far down the little loop is. All of these knots can be seen in my videos, so if you look that up, you can find those out. I'm going to set it up again and try and go through it and show you all how to tie it and rig it up. So this strap's really easy to set up. We've already got all of our knots in place, and it's tied to our spring device. I'm going to go ahead and just tie a lap knot onto this Alpine Butterfly knot that we've already made. This can pretty easily be tied with one hand. Little practice as usual, but once you get that in place, it's not a big problem. Okay, so now here's where on this line we would tie our bait, and we've got our other one that would be our snare. Now this is where you could of course go through and adjust how tall you had this, depending on the angle of the actual line. So let's get a close-up of this. Okay, and the lap knot, here's where it creates that little loop when you push it through. This is where you can actually adjust the tension, or to make it a spring, make it a hair trigger. Kind of hard to show you on camera, but if you pull this down and give it a little less slack, you push that loop through to where it's pretty much, even or slightly under the loop holding it in place, and that way you can create it, a nice easy pull. See if I can't do a close-up of that one later. But you get the idea. So you would have your bait attached to the bottom one again, and you would have your loop set out. And that little fellow pulls on that. You saw what I mean about the tension. Since I wasn't able to use both hands to retension the hair trigger, it's a little harder to pull. It seems like this might be a little more suited for something slightly larger, raccoon or something of that size, so something that's going to pull on the bait a little bit. But as you can see, snagged me up good. All right, so it seems like this trap is pretty versatile. It's easy to set up. No cutting tools required. Only requires one anchor point, which could be any heavy object. For the spring device, you could also use, a large rock or log or anything like it's heavy on the other side, just like any other spring trap that uses something other than a tree branch. So I'd love to hear your guys' feedback. Thanks.